What becomes of the bond between households when a single mark upon the path is taken as proof that one of their own has broken the circle of labor?
The watcher at the boundary stone read the wheel tracks left by a passing cart and declared the theft settled.
He did not walk the longer path to the tailor's house, where the accused had spent the morning mending cloth.
He did not ask the neighbor whose door stood open at that same hour.
The accusation traveled from stone to council before the day cooled, and the household that should have been turning soil instead spent its hands gathering proof that the tracks had been misread.
At the evening hearth, the elders sat with the accused.
The fire burned low while the family laid out the other signs, the cart's own tally marks, the tined steps of a neighbor's child, the unbroken thread of work left at the tailor's bench. The watcher refused to look.
He said the stone had spoken, and no further counting was needed.
The bread that night was divided in silence, and the children learned that a single mark could outweigh the voices of those who shared the same roof. Days passed.
The accused walked between settlements carrying the proof that should have been gathered by the watcher himself.
At each door, the story was told again, and each telling pulled hands from the fields.
The storehouse keeper noted fewer baskets returned at dusk.
The workshop benches stood half-finished because the skilled ones were elsewhere, answering the same question the stone had already claimed to settle.
At the council circle, the watcher stood again.
He spoke of the stone's certainty and the need for swift judgment.
An elder asked what would happen when the next false mark fell upon another household. The question hung while the fire crackled.
No one answered it before the meeting ended, yet the watchers continued to trust the stone over the slower work of walking the paths and asking at each hearth. Seasons turned.
Households that once sent their young to learn the reading of tracks now kept them close, fearing the stone might speak against them next.
The boundary stones remained, yet fewer carts passed between settlements, because fewer trusted the watchers to weigh all signs.
The fields showed wider strips of grass where the plow had not reached.
Children stood at the edges of the working circle and watched tools grow dull from lack of use.
The watcher who had first read the mark still claimed the stone could not err.
Yet the elders noticed that the same stone left other tracks unread when they pointed toward the watchers' own households.
The question first asked, beside the low hearth, returned in the council circle, and again at the boundary stones. What happens when one mark is enough to break the circle, yet the circle itself must still hold the weight of every household's survival?
If the habit of letting a single mark stand in place of full counting continues, the settlement will one day find its paths grown narrow, its storehouses lighter, and its children standing without elders who still know how to read every sign the land and the kin together provide.
The stones will remain, but the trust that once let households answer for one another will have already grown quiet.
If the tale told beside the hearth has stirred your heart to see how one mark upon the stone can narrow the paths that bind the circle, then carry that ember outward along the ways that lead from the settlement. Speak it at each door where elders gather, and set rope and marker so the boundary stones remain clear to the child who follows after.
Bring hands to the labor that feeds the fire. Stand with the watchers through the turning of seasons, and lay down small signs where the youngest may learn why the full counting must hold against the wind, that the trust between households may pass unbroken from one generation to the next, without the fields lying fallow or the baskets standing empty at dusk.